getting rid of Monty Williams this week.
The guy we got wasn't the guy he was in Phoenix. A clearly disinterested and uninspiring coach. It was an incredible letdown. Even so, I was okay if they would have kept him because he's had success and was given a roster with virtually no legitimate shooting talent. But through the season, his lineups never seemed to make sense or hold any type of consistency. Starting Killian for the first 25, 30 games or whatever was beyond frustrating. It made me wonder if he was giving orders or receiving them. And if he was being told who and what to play and that's why he checked out, I don't know. And at the end of the day, we give credit to Trajan Langan for doing it, but the reports that have come out so far are that came from ownership and aren't telling them. So if it was, then that's bad news for us to hire this guy, the new president of basketball operations, and then cut him off at the knees already. But who knows?
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the BDE Sports Talk Podcast, here to give you the latest scoop in the world of sports in the great state of Michigan and the great city of Detroit. In this week's episode, we talk about Trajan truly taking the reins of the Pistons after this week's firing of Monty Williams and who may be his next guy. Eddie gives us a little treat, and as always, the weekly Tigers update. I'm Bill, one of three co-hosts, along with the D and E of the BDE, Dean and Eddie. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Doing good.
Doing sweet. Ready to provide you a little treat. Treat master.
My knees are already sore. Let's go.
Well, it's a little treat intended for Scott. Scott with 616 Realty, who we met down there over the weekend. So we're gonna hit a little game to incorporate some Michigan State football, which is what he is into, and throw a little Michigan football in there.
Yeah,
Nice.
So, yeah, if you're watching or listening, Scott is probably listening.
You said you would, Scott.
You said you would.
Don't you remember me?
He doesn't remember you. With that said, thanks to Ace and the Grand Rapids Asian Pacific Festival for having us out last weekend. We got to MC a couple of the acts. Salamat. And it was a great turnout. A lot of Eddie and I had a lot of fun. Dean had a prior commitment that was an honorable one.
It was pretty honorable.
It was pretty honorable.
Filled with honor.
Sitting at home. It was weird.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was so honorable.
Took the belt off J-Mo's face back there.
Yeah. Too small to strap on, but got some tape. It worked.
Shout out to Sound Dread for being awesome dudes.
Awesome.
They were great. Hopefully we get to see them again. Hopefully they come back to Michigan. I think that was their first time in Michigan. So
really,
yeah, shout out to those guys. If you don't know who Sound Dread is, they are a all Filipino band that does cover songs. Journey, they did Zombie by the Cranberries, which I think they did in the Bad Wolves version. Amazing. Amazing. I mean, I had watched their stuff before and I was like, man, these guys are good, but like listening to them live, they were awesome.
Top notch.
Yep. Shout out to those guys. Yeah, great weekend. That was a lot of fun. Eddie, you did a great job. So
you did too.
Yeah, you guys both did good.
Thanks, Dean.
Yeah, we did.
You know what? We did.
I saw the video.
Oh, yikes.
So getting into this week's episode, Trajan Langdon wanting to get the BD put in front of that T. Getting rid of Monty Williams this week. And I mean, we've talked about it. Not a real surprising move. I mean, it was another one of those where I didn't think he was going to do it.
Right.
I thought he might keep him around for
Me
another
neither.
year.
Dean was right again.
Yeah.
Did I say that? I thought that maybe he would have.
I thought you were the only one that said that it seemed like they'd fire him.
You know what? I'll take this one. Yeah.
Yeah, you might as well just take it.
I can't remember, but I believe you.
Yeah,
I'm usually pretty correct on these.
I mean, you nailed, the Weaver one, and then I thought you got this one too. So
I did.
Thanks,
guys.
right, I did.
You're damn right.
Yeah, it was a little surprising to me. Not like, oh my goodness, what are we ever gonna do? But
Right.
the more you look at the situation, and Eddie, you said it last week, where they're a 14-win team, anything's on the table. This is a perfect example. I mean, the dude still had $65 million left on his deal, and with a snap of the fingers, he's gone. And Eddie, I think you also brought this up before too, was that I mean Dean. It was probably Dean.
It was probably me.
That he didn't really look at times like he even wanted to be there, that he just wanted to be there for the money.
Yeah.
And I mean, I short of saying rightfully so, I mean, it was a ton of money to not take, right? It
would have been dumb not to take it.
Right.
It was a Godfather deal, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. So thoughts from you guys on
the whole thing.
Sorry.
No, it's like you said, it wasn't like a huge surprise, especially since I brought it up last week. That as I usually do, I bring it up a week before. But it wasn't a massive surprise, but it was a little bit, just because of the money aspect of it. You kind of have to give, as much as we don't like Gores, you kind of got to give him a little bit of roses on this one. I mean, it's not easy to just sign a $65 million check over to somebody and just be like, all right, well, thanks for your 1 year. Here's the rest of your money. Don't come back. You know what I mean? Like that's insane for anybody, regardless of how rich you are. 65 million is 65 million. So you got to give him a little bit of credit there, and to give Langdon that kind of leash to just kind of do what you feel is right. And if Monty's not your guy, bring in somebody that you think will do the job. So it was interesting, to say the least, because I wasn't expecting it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I mean, to go off of that, I mean, 65 million, that'd be like, also, if we had $1 million in the bank and we had to sign a check for 6,500 to get rid of a problem. I mean, is that really an issue?
6,500 and 65 million compared to what?
But it's the same comparison.
What,
the guy is worth like $10 billion.
Yeah, but 65 million is 65 million.
I mean, I hear you. Because I was also going to say, yeah, I mean, I got to give credit to that, but at the same time, when I think about it, I'm like, well,
I mean, you're not wrong.
You want a profitable business or not? I mean, you made a bad decision before when you went to him, made the Godfather deal when the guy was trying to treat his wife with cancer.
Right. Yeah. It's like, for him, it's like flipping a coin into a well, but
Yeah. And honestly, I add into that, he's probably eating about 80, probably close to 80 if you include whatever he had to buy out of Troy Weaver.
Right.
So it really, I mean, it's obviously a ton of money,
right?
Like in the grand scheme. I know I make it seem less because he is that rich, but at the same time, I mean, 80 mil is 80 mil. And shout out to Monty, who in 2 years is collecting like 85 mil in buyout money.
What a sweet gig. What a sweet gig.
Good for him, man. I mean, I was excited when we got him,
Mhm.
but the guy we got wasn't the guy he was in Phoenix. A clearly disinterested and uninspiring coach. It was an incredible letdown. Even so, I was okay if they would have kept him because he's had success and was given a roster with virtually no legitimate shooting talent. But through the season, his lineups never seemed to make sense or hold any type of consistency. Starting Killian for the first 25, 30 games or whatever was beyond frustrating. It made me wonder if he was giving orders or receiving them. Um, and if he was being told who and what to play, and that's why he checked out, I don't know. And at the end of the day, we give credit to Trajan Langan for doing it, but the reports that have come out so far are that came from ownership and aren't tell them. So if it was, then that's bad news for us to hire this guy, the new president of basketball operations, and then cut him off at the knees already. But who knows? They're supposed to have a press conference tomorrow at 3:30, so we'll finally see and hear Trajan and Gores uh, for the first time in person. I didn't expect it to happen. I'm glad it did. They needed a new, fresh start in more ways than one, especially considering we have the third worst 5-year span record. I saw that on ESPN. Over 5 years span, it's the third worst in NBA history.
Mm.
So relieving Monty and Weaver was the right move and the right signal to send to the team and the fans. Hopefully making good decisions after that. I hope it was Langdon's decision as
Right.
more than anything else.
When it happened, I started to think about, I knew we were going to talk about this.
Yeah.
I started thinking about like how that meeting went, and in my mind, it almost was Trajan saying, "All right, we're gonna rebuild this thing. Are you in?" And Monty just didn't want to be there. And I mean, in my eyes, he was probably just honest with them. And it could be, it could be the whole his family. He just wants to be with his family. It could be a multitude of reasons, but that's just in my mind. And I could be, I've been wrong about everything else. Could be completely wrong. I just don't think Monty wanted to be there. What I didn't like was I saw, and when I say I didn't like it, I didn't like hearing it, but it's probably fact. Was I saw a interview, or not an interview, more of a 30-second blurb on ESPN with Stephen A. Smith and Udonis Haslam. And it was when it broke, the news broke, and Stephen A. goes, Monty should be, he goes, he's a holy man. He should be thanking his good Lord right now that he's out of Detroit in the situation that franchise is in right now. And I hated hearing that because, I mean, we've talked about it on this podcast, and anyone who's listening to this podcast or watching has to be a sports fan, knows how historic, and Eddie, you brought it up before too, even recently, how historically successful this franchise has been, and to see where it is now, they've taken over the pedestal of the Lions, really. It's just not in a good spot. And there's glimpses, you know what I mean? I shouldn't say the pedestal of the Lions because we'll get into the Tigers later, but so any potential candidates, anybody that you're feeling, I got one. I think it's time. It's time for Tom. Time for Tom.
Nah.
Time for Tom Izzo.
I don't think
it's his time.
I don't think it's
he
Tommy's
needs to
time.
get up there.
I don't think it's.
Yes, it is. It's his time.
I think his game is meant for college.
We
don't need a beeline scenario for old Tommy Izzo.
We really don't.
I think Tommy's an Arn Tellem guy too.
Is he?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's like that would make sense.
No, Tom.
Preferably no.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think that
Preferably yes
points
for
the
me.
team in the right direction either.
No, he could get hired. Like, obviously, that news of JJ Redick broke today, but he could get hired to coach the Lakers,
Right.
right? I mean,
What a joke that franchise has been too. They're just hiring. Why don't they just name LeBron the coach? I don't.
honestly, before the hiring today, I'm like, I wonder if they're thinking about it, like doing a player coach, just to give LeBron one other thing and just whatever, and just do it.
Because they he did a podcast with JJ Redick,
Mhm.
and it
Mhm.
just it always seems like it's people like that. LeBron's just going to coach the team anyway. Darvin Ham, you know what I mean? It just like Darvin Ham never made sense to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
gonna
it is what
they're gonna
it
get
is what
Bronny
it is.
James anyway.
Exactly.
Probably.
That's
Good
what they
stuff,
should
man.
do. That's what the Pistons should do. Just let LeBron know that he can be the coach. He can play and coach.
I know we could have made a move for JJ, drafted Bronny. They could do all three of them do a podcast together here,
Yeah.
and just whatever.
The Motor City LeBrons,
We'll promise to retire Bronny's jersey or something. I don't know.
Oh, God.
Regardless, it'll be like Thanasis and Tentacumpo or whatever. You see those like compilation videos of him
Ugh.
playing. It's Giannis's younger brother, and he's
Oh, geez,
terrible
yeah.
at basketball. Yeah, he's terrible.
We'll have
Everybody's
to hang
like
division
cheering when he gets the ball.
banners.
That's funny. I mean maybe Bickerstaff, but I just wanted to bring up Izzo.
There's two guys that I could see them. Well, one of them for sure they're interviewing, which would be James Borrego. Obviously he's coached the Hornets, Magic, assistant, for San Antonio and Magic. Also has ties with Langdon from his days in wherever. But that's not the guy I'm most interested. There's a guy that nobody's really talking about that I thought would be an interesting candidate, which would be Sam Cassell. He's been an assistant coach in the league for over 15 years. I mean, he's got 3 rings. He's a guy the players can kind of look up to as a player and a coach. He was a solid player in his career. It could be a good guy just leadership wise. I don't know. I thought that would have been an interesting hire, but I don't know. It can't get much worse, can it? Can it get much worse? But he's been a really good assistant for multiple teams over the last almost 2 decades. So, if you're going for an assistant guy anyway, I've seen a couple of other guys that they were talking about. You might as well get a guy that's got playing experience, essentially a player coach, I think that'd be a good hire for them. I don't see them hiring him, but I think that wouldn't be the worst move they could make.
I don't think that's outside the box at all. I feel like that's a very popular name for this job. One I've seen come up a lot, actually.
Really?
And yeah, and that was top of my list too, because as I've talked about a lot in the past, is we don't have a vet player unless they can get a really good vet player to bring in that they can listen to. The next best thing is to have at least a recently played coach that they can look up to and kind of respect it in some kind of way. And he's a guy that's supposed to get a job sometime in the near future if he wants one. Borrego is another guy. I'm not super into Borrego personally. Yeah. He's probably fine, but he's had his run, and it's like, okay, I feel like we've gone that route.
Yeah.
I kind of want, in my head, I like Sam Cassell because I think of I know it's not apples to apples, but the same concept of what happened in Detroit Lions, where you bring in a former player, a culture, a guy who's just loves the game, knows the game, has played it at least at a high level. Cassell more so actually, than Dan Campbell got, honestly.
For sure.
But a respect thing. The other guy, probably Chris Quinn. He's somebody that pops up a lot. He interviewed for the job before. Miami assistant. He's seen a lot of success. He's coached a lot of success. And a former player. I don't know how good he was, but he did play, and I think that does matter, especially with a young team. And the last person, just because it's outside the box, and I feel like it may have been brought up, is Becky Hammon. Maybe consider Becky Hammon. I mean, a great player in her own right. Learned from one of the best of all time under Pop. Coached the Las Vegas Aces to the last 2 WNBA championships. I mean, I think that is super highly unlikely. But I think we need players who can coach and not just Arn Tellum's clients or friends from Langdon's past. You don't just want to comfort hire, right? I mean, we're already going through the process. It's like, I mean, you want to hire people you're comfortable with.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, is that really the best result you're going to get? So I don't know. Anything's on the table, just like Bill mentioned, I said before, anything. It really is, dude. When you're coming off of a season like that and everything that happened, nothing is off the table. And people, I don't think anybody would really laugh at a Becky Hammon hire. I just wonder, because the team is so young, what kind of respect that happens, or maybe that's better that they're younger. I don't know. But she's been there and done it. She's coached with the best. Yeah. And she's at least when she went out and did her own thing, has coached that team to championships. So it's like,
if you're going to take a risk on somebody, I mean, that's not the worst person to take a look at, for sure.
The one person I didn't want them to take a risk on was JJ Redick. And so I'm glad he got hired, because he was kind of being mentioned in those circles. I'm like, we're really not the place for a trial. We're not, because he could be great.
Yeah.
He could go Steve Kerr, Mark Jackson, John Lynch going GM Broncos. You know what I mean?
Mark Jackson,
not Broncos, but San Francisco. Mark Jackson's an option.
Yeah, I heard his name pop up a couple of times too.
So, but I didn't want us to try JJ,
right?
Who could end up being great, but it's like, this isn't the time for us to. But then again, nothing's off the table.
And honestly, I feel like he would run a 3-point centric type of offense. I don't know if that's just because of how he played, and we don't have the players for that type of offense unless we want to see more beef.
Not at all. We have nobody.
Threes, baby.
Nobody I would trust to just run 3-point plays for all the time.
Well, we got one guy. That's beef stew.
Yeah, okay.
Let him run the point. Just pop a tray real quick.
Nice.
Well, the one thing about Borrego that was a positive was him working with LaMelo Ball. And LaMelo really did develop into a pretty good player. I don't pay attention to the Hornets, but it seems like he does really well. And Cade is LaMelo-esque.
Yeah.
In his own way. So, I mean, that would be a good thing, but I don't know. It just, the timing sucks. 1 week from the draft, less than a week. So
kind of seems to be the story. Everything's just a little late.
Doing a press conference 3:30 on a Friday. That's usually when you release news that you want buried in the weekend. That sounds like
maybe I was thinking about this too. Maybe the reason he stayed out of the press so much is because he wants it to feel like it's not about him and it's more about the team. You know what I mean? And then you do it, like you said, like you do something like that on a Friday afternoon where it's supposed to get buried through the weekend. Maybe that's kind of what he's hoping for. So that way it's not bringing attention to him. He wants the attention on the team, but that's just a thought. I don't know if that's how he actually thinks. That might not be, but I was thinking about that. I was like, well, maybe he just doesn't want that attention brought to him, because obviously it's, at least in local news, it's a pretty big deal for us.
He's like, I'm gonna give them suckers all the bad press right now.
Right? Yeah. He's like, I wasn't a part of that. You know what I mean? I'm getting rid of all that. Let me fire Weaver and Monty, and then I'll make a statement.
Last thing, tip of the cap. All right. At the end of the day, and we all agreed, was to Gore's writing the checks to make it happen. He gets a lot of crap, and rightfully so.
No.
Okay, you deserved all of it, and you still deserve more of it, depending on how everything plays out. But thank you for that. Because Chris Illich won't even sign a $26 million check to get rid of Hobby. So,
yeah,
and maybe move up that whole 2 weeks ahead back a little bit.
Yeah, just pump the brakes on that. Why don't we be at the same place?
Yeah. Started
things would have went a lot smoother.
Ugh. You're
I
getting
mean,
me mad now, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a year plan ahead of us. Because
2 weeks from now, we're gonna lose more. That's the plan. What's a stupid freaking plan, Tom? What plan? Sign Bagley to another $30 million contract? Great plan.
Sweet plan.
That worked out.
So speaking of Tom Izzo and the Spartans, Eddie
Banks. Yeah.
I'm
one more time,
I'm feeling a little,
shout out to
little
Scott.
tasty. A little tasty
a little
treat.
tasty. You feeling like you need some flavor?
Yes, please.
Let me give you the flavor, baby. A little game that we'll play just to give people a little taste of some college football that we could probably play all through the season and with other games too. But little game I'm going to call, what are the odds? So in this game, I'm going to give you a matchup and I'll ask you what you think the line is for that game. For MSU, there are only 2 games listed right now that have any odds on them. And then I'll give you 2 games that you guys can just guess, and then we'll follow back up and see what the lines ended up being by the time the schedule comes out. We'll do 4 total games for U of M. They have more numbers available as it currently stands. So MSU hosting Florida Atlantic. What are the odds as far as the line? What's your guess?
Is it
MSU at home?
MSU at home
against the Owls. Don't be looking it up.
I'm not.
You see his eyeballs go sideways and his hands go this way?
We're gonna go
cheating.
Eyes here. Keep your eyes here.
Keep your eyes up.
That's how I think. I don't know. Minus 13.
Okay.
Dean? 13. Is that for Florida Atlantic or?
Yeah.
No.
I know.
Oh, I thought you went minus 13 Florida. Atlantic.
No. Minus 13.
What? Okay, so what's the line for them? I think it's more than 13. I'm going to say it's I'm going to Price is Right them and do minus 14.
Minus 14.
I think it'll be minus 20.
Minus 20.
21. Yeah.
As it sits right now, Bill's got a point. It's minus 11.5.
Those sons of
minus 11.5.
I was going to say minus 10, but I was thinking of Jonathan Smith. So if it was Mel Tucker, I probably would have said minus 7.
If it was Mel Tucker, I would have gone lower.
I would have gone higher because he would have got these former 5-star transfer recruits that hadn't played, and he'd be like, "Oh, they're probably pretty good." The only other one listed for Michigan State was the game at the University of Michigan. What do you think the line is for that?
At Michigan?
At Michigan.
Dean, you want to go first?
I go with plus. I'll just do plus 21 again. For Michigan.
Yeah,
go.
Minus 26.5 for Michigan.
So plus 26.5 MSU. Dean is closer. It is plus 23.5 for MSU on that game. So the real contest will be over these. Really, it's the next 2 games where we got to guess because we don't really. There's no lines yet. So it's 1-1 right now. What do you think the odds will be for MSU at home against the Ohio State University?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with my answer before, but higher, plus 29.
Plus 29.
Wait,
right
they're
in
at
the-
home.
No, at
Yeah,
Ohio
plus-
State.
It's
At
a
a
Oh
high.
yeah, plus
at
29.
the shoe. Yeah, I mean that's roughly where I was going to go too. I was going to go plus 28.
Plus 28. You're really throwing yourself in there.
How
know.
late in the season is it?
I think it's like the 5th week or 6th week.
It's probably
Oh,
like
wow.
31 and a half, isn't it?
No, there is no line for that yet.
Oh, there is no line.
I'm just gonna save these. One of you losers is gonna have to do a punishment.
put
for
me
losing.
we'll switch it.
Yeah, you can
No,
switch.
I was going to say 31 and a half, but I feel like
Is
I'm
that where
just
you want to
doing-
go?
If it's week 5, I would say it's probably going to be in the 30s.
5 or 6. It's right in the middle.
Would you say, Bill, 29? Give me
You
a
did.
plus
Yeah.
29.1. Giving you a tight space here, buddy.
29.1.
No, to do 31 and a half. That's
31.5. I will go with plus 1. So I will take everything under. Doing prices right,
will-
legitimate style.
I will. I'll up the ante here. and
Uh-oh.
I'll go plus 34, and the over under's 40.
You
Or not the
40.
over. It's the over under's 40.
Bring me down to 30 to give us a little more space in between.
30. Guys, I'm writing in pen here, okay? This is a huge mess.
You know, put me at 27 and a half.
Well, here's the thing. And that's why, so you guys are locked in now. Bean's at plus 30, Bill's at plus 34 with an over under of 40. I'm going plus 1 because Michigan State has a good chance of winning their first 4 games.
It's true.
So that line might come down before the OSU game. And I didn't think about that beforehand, before I waited for you guys to guess. It occurred to me, but it's also possible that they go 2-2 or something for, beat Florida Atlantic and Florida A&M, then get blown out in the other 2 games, and it'll skyrocket. So the only other game I had for us to guess, I thought was interesting, MSU at Oregon.
Man, everybody's talking up Oregon this season.
Are they?
Even
did lose
Oregon
their-
fans.
Oh
are
yeah,
like,
I heard.
we're
Yeah, some
gonna-"
people say, yeah. I mean, they got a shot
Man,
to win. I was thinking Washington at first when you said that. So
I am gonna go. Not. I'm obviously not gonna go 30, but I'll probably go plus 18.
Is it at
And-
home?
it's at Oregon.
Yikes. Oof,
Dean likes plus 18.
I like that though.
It's not
What, the
bad.
18?
Yeah, because I mean, I just don't think Oregon's going to be that good, but I could be completely wrong, I guess.
A lot of people think
Right.
they're going to win the Big Ten. They got that Dylan Gabriel kid. Yeah. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to win the Big Ten. No,
That's for your Buckeyes.
no foreigner is going to come into our country and win our championship.
I dare you to play in the snow.
I mean, it will be interesting.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
We'll go. I'm trying to create space because Dean said plus 18. I'm gonna go with plus. Man, I feel bad going high numbers on these guys, but
Just
24.
go what you think, dude.
24.
plus 24.
Plus 24. I kind of like plus 1. No, I don't think that'll be. There is interesting storylines there, though, right? Because Jonathan Smith going back to the state of Oregon.
Right.
You
He
know.
does know that team. Like,
I mean, how much do you know a team anymore
It's
with
true.
the transfer portal and all that other stuff, And so I don't know. I'll go because I think you guys are right around the ballpark. We say that, and then we'll probably laugh at these lines
Yeah.
come the game, because we're gonna could be undefeated, and Michigan State would be like 3-6 or something.
Yeah.
But
just go 21. Yeah, right in the middle.
I was thinking that's what I thought Bill was gonna go with. I was like, oh,
I thought
because I'll go plus 21. Create a little space.
little space.
3-number space between each. All right. The other ones we do have lines for. So I'm going to go over to the Michigan games. We did one Michigan game so far, the MSU at UM game. And Michigan hosting Texas. What are the odds?
Man, I think as it stands right now, probably Michigan's +3.
I was thinking similar.
Based on the disrespect.
I was thinking something similar to that too. But like, in the spirit of competition. I'll go plus because I was gonna say like 1.5. But I'll go
Dude, go with what you want.
yeah, but it feels
A tie
low,
is a
though.
tie.
Right. It feels low.
So it's not that low.
1.5.
See the disrespect.
It feels it's just a tight number. I'll go you said +3. I'll go plus 3.5. No,
Well-
actually no. Yeah, 3.5.
Well, Dean nailed it on the dot. It is plus 3.5.
Well.
It's exactly right.
I mean, I was pretty good in the pick'ems,
Plus 3.5,
Yeah,
Michigan at home against Texas. The national championship rematch at Washington. What are the odds?
Michigan plus or minus 7.5.
It's not a bad guess. Yeah, I mean, I think Michigan will win, or is least favored to win. I'll go minus. Let's go 4.5.
Bill wins that one. It's minus 9.5. A lot of
They say
turnover
they'll-
over there,
Yeah, I was gonna say they say the only team that's regressed more than Michigan is Washington.
but it is at Washington. But I think that's appropriate. I do. I think 7.5 to 9.5 right now seems like a
Right.
number.
On paper, yeah.
It's 2-2 going into the last one.
Spread it on.
The game
Spread it on.
at the Ohio State. What are the odds? This is according to Vegas Insider. Don't Google that, Bill, while we're sitting here.
I already know what they've probably done. It's fine.
I'm gonna say Michigan is a plus 6.5.
I know what Vegas Insiders and the media does. Orgy's gonna slap them in the mouth. Are we doing these when it happens, or am I going with what it is right now?
Going at what they believe it is right now.
Probably
These
right
are the
now,
odds I have.
Probably right now, Michigan plus 12.5.
Let's see. That's insane, you guys. That's an absolute tie. That's an absolute tie. If we're not going
Right in the
over,
middle.
or if we're not saying whoever is under, whatever Price is Right rules,
Right.
it's 9.5. So your Dean is 3 points under, Bill's 3 points over.
I was gonna say 9.5, 10.5, but with the way they've been essing some OSUD and how they're the best team in the country, I'm surprised it's that low.
I thought they would want to build the game up more, so that's why I went with 6.5.
9.5. I think.
It's
Michigan's
not
on a
crazy.
roll against Ohio State. Just came off national championship. Yeah, a ton of turnover, but the line's still going to be good, which is the bread and butter. And it's not like you're taking that out against like Oregon, which, I mean, those odds were closer, weren't they? Did we have that one for this one?
Yeah. No.
No, we didn't. I didn't. I just went for those other ones. But, I don't know. I think that's interesting. I think 9.5 is right for right now. I guess. But you guys tied. You guys tied on the ones that the odds are out there. We'll see what happens. See what happens with these other two games, and then, Bill's gonna either have to eat a dozen eggs, or Dean's gonna have to eat like a pound of stank cheese. Pound of stank cheese. For Debo.
Let's start with like 2 bites of an egg.
Yeah, let's start with the smell of the
dozen
cheese.
bites.
Ace, at Adobo Boy, I'm gonna need a whole lot of fried eggs.
But that's it, man. Can't wait for college football. A little taster for Scotty out there, and for anybody else curious about what's going on.
I like it. I do like that.
Yeah.
I love betting college football. So
what are the odds?
What are the odds? All right, time for that weekly Tigers update.
Yeah.
Tigers went 1-5 since last recording. Fellas, they got swept by Atlanta. Lost 2 to the Astros. Besides the 13 runs that they scored in their 1 win against Houston. Looked terrible. Wasting starts from Casey Mize. Most notably, I watched this game the other night. Reese Olson, who pitched an amazing game. I mean, that dude. Oh,
he's that dude.
That dude. He keeps giving them everything that he's got, and they are just failing him in every single possible way. It's so upsetting to watch. Even when you're sick, it's worse when you're sick.
I puked. More.
It's just it's not fun to watch. I mean, it's fun to watch Reese Olson pitch. It was fun to watch Casey Mize pitch when he pitched. I mean, he gave up the 2 runs, but still, I mean, it wasn't like it was a terrible outing. I don't know. Thoughts, guys? Give me something. You give me hope or no? No hope.
I don't know if there's a ton of hope right now. What are they like? 13 back in their division, and they're 6.5 back out of the wild card. Starting, they're just only slipping down that any possibility of even making the playoffs. And like Eddie and I were saying, is like, you got till maybe July to really figure out if you're gonna start selling or try to get somebody to help the team. Right now it's looking like even if you do get one really good bat, is it going to make up for all the other bad bats that are going to come up behind him, in front of him? I mean, obviously there's a couple, you got like Perez and I mean, that's in Riley Green, but, and I guess how's Colt Keith been doing? Not, he was hurt, wasn't he? For a little bit, but
he's hitting all right.
I watched him.
His fielding is apparently
struggling.
Not up to par.
Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't look like we're on the right path of any sort. So, I mean, I know there's been rumors that Flaherty's been the guy that is going to be a top trading chip for them if they end up selling. I mean, he's on a 1-year deal anyway. If you even want to come back. So you got to look into stuff like that and start looking into young prospects again, I guess. I don't know. I don't know at this point in the season. I mean, you're almost halfway through the season. It's not looking great. It doesn't look like you're going to go on any type of huge win streak. I don't know.
Okay, no positivity from Dean. Eddie, hit me up with some positivity.
I don't got that for you, brother. I just don't. I don't. Losers of the last 10 of their last 13. The inconsistencies of the hitting lineup are finally catching up to their record. I talked about it before the season. It's just not a legitimate starting lineup to field. You have some 4A guys out there, and you're trying to Frankenstein a third base half the time. You re-signed Colt Keith, which was fine, but they're saying he might not even be able to play second base moving forward. And then they're saying Jace Young isn't a good fielder at third base. So like we could have guys hit, dude. Now then all of a sudden we won't be able to field. And it's like I don't know what exactly is going to happen. I mean, this was going to happen because you can't field that lineup. It ties for 5th worst batting average in the league, 7th worst OPS, 4th worst OBP. List goes on, and expect to stay at or above 500. All the time I hear, well, hitting is down across the league. And it's true. It is. It definitely is. But that doesn't mean we'd be a bottom 7 or worse in nearly every category. And you talked about before the season, a guy like JD Martinez or somebody, we've lost or 25% of the games the Tigers have scored 2 runs or less so far this year. JD, somebody you're telling me we couldn't have boosted another, say, 4 games
right
to get across the plate. And now all of a sudden you're looking like, okay, we're a game and a half, 2 games out of that last wild card spot. It's a totally different position. You're like, well, one hitter isn't going to do it. Well, one hitter, when you have 8 people left on base in one game, probably could have hit one of those around. We just don't have. So it's frustrating. Pitching is still great. I mean, Bill highlighted Reese Olson had a great start. Overall, the 12th best DRA, tied for 6th most shutouts, 6th fewest home runs allowed, 8th best whip. I don't know. Like I said before, if our batting lineup was as good as the 15th or 17th, even in the league, we'd be firmly entrenched in a wild card spot. At this point, unless something crazy happens, they're gonna sell. The team's tank. They're falling off. Like I said, the hitting's catching up with everything else. I know we have a series against the White Sox, so could win a couple there, hopefully. If not, you might as well burn it down. If you're not going to win the game, I mean, the Sox are terrible, man. You're not going to win a cup. You're not going to win that series. You shut it down. At that point, shut it down. And it makes me ponder, and I know this is going to seem silly, who is closer to reaching a playoff, the Pistons or Tigers? And I know it seems obvious at the moment, but you need a few legitimate pieces to make a run at the playoff in baseball. And we're seeing that now. We have nearly elite pitching, and the what pieces we're building around on the batting side and the fielding side. I don't really know other than Riley Green. Because we're finding out at this moment, pitching alone ain't going to do it. Basketball, you could find some gem of a player to put beside Cade. You could sniff a plan. You know what I'm saying? I just think structurally, I know the Pistons are terrible. Obviously, in 14 games, you're terrible. But like, I'm not sure one's that much further than the other as far as reaching the playoff. I don't. I don't.
So. It's not that far off at all. It's kind of a head-to-head race at this point. I mean, it just, I can't watch every Tigers game that goes on. I try to. It's not possible. But when I do, and I watch Reese Olson throw nasty pitches for strikeouts, only to get taken out, and Will Vest give up a run. I mean, it's going to happen. I'm not putting this on Will Vest. I'm not putting it on.
The season is Will Vest.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not that. It's just, even like before he was taken out, and I'm just watching these dudes just not hit at all. It's so frustrating. So frustrating. And I would compare it to like when Justin Verlander was a Tiger and he would barely get run support at times. But at least the other 4 starts, they were scoring runs.
Nate Robertson would get run
Yeah.
support. You know what
Jimmy
I mean?
Yeah.
Bondo.
Yeah, Bondo.
Old Bondo. Kenny Rogers.
So it just it's frustrating. And I think it's head to head because you don't. I mean, okay, Torkelson's doing well in Toledo, and that's good. That's a good thing. But we've talked about it before. It's not MLB pitching. It's not majors pitching, regardless of what you're doing. Yes, he needs to be down there, and he's doing well down there, and that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Like that's a great thing. But I mean, you call him up now. What difference is that going to make? I don't think it makes that much of a difference, which is sad because if he even came back and bounced back, you still have 6-7 other dudes that can't hit the ball outside of like Urshela and Riley Green. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, his average is starting to catch up with him too.
Starting to dip. Yeah.
Vierling, I think he's hit under 200 this last month. On his own. I mean, those guys can catch they're all talented baseball players. They wouldn't be there if they weren't, but it's like they can't do that for 160 games.
Right.
And we'll see. I heard Avisayo Garcia, he got released by somebody. He's kind of fallen off too. I'm not saying they should sign him.
Give him a shot.
Yeah, Barry Bonds is available. He's not doing
anything. I'm sure he's still juicing.
Why not?
We got to cheat. At least let's
add to that home run record, huh? Give him the juice AJ, and send him out there.
AJ, you know what to do.
Just banging trash cans.
No, it's 2024. He found something new.
You figure it out.
No, you figured it out.
He's an innovator.
So yes, Eddie, you brought it up. They play the White Sox starting tomorrow through the weekend at home, and then the Phillies at home as well, Monday through Wednesday. So go Tigers.
Tell us in the comments how it went.
Yeah.
Tell us in the comments how you feel.
Yeah.
Scat.
Yes.
Oh wait, if he's on Spotify, there's no comments.
Yeah, he's on Spotify. He's probably like, I would
have. Appreciate it.
So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone. That'll do it for this week's episode. Hit us up with a comment. Let us know how you're feeling about the Detroit Pistons or the Tigers. Who's closer to a playoff spot? Huh? Answer Eddie's question. Like the video. Subscribe if you haven't. If you need to subscribe, hit the logo that's right under Dean right there. Show him, Dean. And watch last week's episode to Eddie's left. It might be your right. I don't know. Anyways, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. For that's Dean and Eddie, this is Bill saying everyone have a great week and see you next time on the BDE Sports Talk Podcast.
Sports Talk.